wanted to say something else too. So obviously this is from applications, this is from one-on-one clients, but this is also just like from conversations I feel like I've been having, whether it's like in the DMs with people in our industry or um, with like other friends I have in the industry. Like I really tried to be like, okay, all of the conversations I've had around this lately, not just applications, not just clients, like what is the like central theme? And I think it's important to say that because obviously like when we're just talking applicants it's like of course they're feeling like there's a problem or like that's why they're applying to, to coaching, right? But I really tried to be like across the board, like what are the themes? So here they are, here's how they're going to go. All right, so one of them that I think is really huge that I think that we undervalue so much, excuse me, is that most of the women who are thriving are not going after every opportunity or chasing every new potential. I think that can be really, really hard to do as an entrepreneur, especially when so many entrepreneurs are wired for that. Like it's like kind of what like makes them a great entrepreneur, but then it's also kind of what works against them is when there's always like that next thing, like, oh, but I should be doing this, or I should be doing this next thing, or I saw so and so doing this, so I should do this. And like that can be fun for a little bit, but long term in business, it's really, really, really hard. And it's really hard to run like a scalable business doing that. And so a lot of the people that I see, know, talk to that are really thriving right now are just like not going after every opportunity. They're really, really locked in on, I would say one to three at the most. And they're like, this is where my results lie. This is where my scalability lies. This is where my focus lies. And they're really trying to block out the rest um, because it really makes a difference. Hi, Liz. You never get to come. I'm so happy to have you. Hey, Megan, being more selective this year has made me feel so much more empowered and clear. Right. Like, I think like as a society, we are all kind of like overwhelmed, like I think that like when you talk to other people, most people feel like busy or overwhelmed or whatever. And so when we also do that to ourselves in business, it's just so hard to get a ton of results from that. And then equally, we end up in this kind of like spirally overwhelmed state, and it feels like nothing we're doing is working or nothing's quite landing. And nine times out of 10, it's because every opportunity. I was even saying this to a client this morning. Like, she has a really successful business. And I was saying to her, like, the thing you have to be the most careful of right now is that everything's a good idea. Every single thing. Like, you have a big business and a big audience. Most things are a good idea. Like, oh, yeah, I bet a portion of your audience would buy that. Yep, I bet people would say yes to that, right? Like, when it all is a good idea, is actually especially when you have to be so, so, so focused because if you're not, you can end up having 15 good ideas happening at once. So none of them actually end up coming to fruition. And so that like lever of focus, that like every opportunity does not need to be my opportunity thing, I think is so big. Like just an example of this is I feel like, oh, hi Lace, good morning. So happy to be here. So real. I had a moment with myself last week where I was like, wow, I'm only wanting to focus on these two things. Yes, two. Like that's it, right? I think that is so, so valuable. And thank you for being here. Um, so what was I saying about that? Oh, I feel like I was gonna say something there. Oh, I was talking about having that conversation with that client of like, everything is a good idea. And so like so much of the work a lot of the times is actually like, what am I willing to say no to? And then what I was going to say is I feel like an example of this that's been like very alive in our industry right now is everybody watched that amazing Jessie Jean, well, the multiple launches, right? Where she made like over $4 million. It's so cool. She did this on a $297 challenge. And so I feel like so many people, especially if they have audience, are like, oh, I should do a $297 challenge, right? And it's like such a good idea, right? And it's going to work against most people unless it like actually fits their business, their plan, their client ascension strategy, et cetera, right? Like, but because like we watched someone else do it and it went so well, it's so tempting, right? And so we have to leave opportunities on the table to be more successful, but also to thrive as a human, right? Like when I didn't just say like the people who are most successful, though that's part of thriving, it's like the people who are actually like mentally well while they're creating success and like feeling good in what they're doing. Like they just aren't doing 100 things. Like it's really crazy making. It truly, truly is. And it's when you start losing the plot on all of it because it's like you don't have time to look at the data on all of it. You don't actually have time to optimize all of it. You're just in this constant like build phase of everything new. Um, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult place to be. Um, which kind of leads me to my next point is I really feel like a lot of the people who are thriving right now are just like really working on like reactivity or being less reactive. I think our space is literally built in some ways to create this reactivity in us. Like we see what other people are doing all day long. We hear of these new things and everyone's telling us we're behind on this or should be focused on that or whatever. And it's so easy to be in this like massive reactivity mode all the time. We're almost like putting ourselves into fight or flight all the time. Like, oh my God, I'm behind on that. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, this, I didn't know about this. Somebody else knows about that. And it's like, you can feel the energy of that, right? It can get very big very quickly. And that reactivity in business is the worst way to run a business. Like if there is a quality of a CEO, that's probably like one of the worst qualities of a CEO, it's reactivity, right? Like you cannot always be in reaction mode. Like you really have to be intentional. You have to be like thinking about the future. You have to not let every little thing rock the boat, right? And so part of that, like I'm not saying yes to opportunity is really tied into I'm not being reactive to everything that comes my way. Because when we're in that mode, like everything is heightened and we're really running the business from pure like emotion. And I'm not saying emotion is bad. Like I think that we have to like acknowledge and process emotions in order to have a business that doesn't like make us lose our minds, but equally those emotions should not be the ones making decisions or running the show in our business. And when we're in reactivity mode, they're constantly the ones we're like, oh my God, someone says I'm behind and now I feel threat and now I feel uncomfortable emotions and so I have to go fix that. Or oh my God, someone says like I'm missing out on this. And so now I feel not good enough or da, da, da. And so now I have to go do that, right? It's like this constant thing versus being like intentionally, where do I need to spend my time right now? Again, tied into like, I know what my priorities are, right? Hey, Tanae, she said, this is so real. Why is it so hard to say no to things, especially when saying yes to another thing really does mean saying no to something else? Perfectly said, right? Like every yes also has a no attached to it. Megan said I deleted IG off my phone and has eliminated so much reactivity. My VA posts and I connect through DMs on desktop. I love that. Good for you. And it's like so good to just like know you can do that, right? Like I feel like it's so I always remember this when I'm like bricking a lot. Like I really I kind of have made it a habit, so I don't have to like be bricked as much anymore, but I just like don't check my phone in the mornings. Or at least ideally I don't. Like I would say 90% of the time I don't. And it's like, I think that it can feel like, oh, but I like have to check my phone because da, 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 like I have a business. What if my client is like canceling our 9 a.m. appointment or blah, 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 you know? And just to be like, oh, I just don't have to check, like is so funny, but it's like so like, oh yeah, I just don't have to do that. And it's like reminding me of like, oh yeah, you could just like delete Instagram and not like you could fix the reactivity like pretty easily with a lot of these things. It's just like we have to stop and notice it and be intentional. Yeah, Jenny perfectly said responsive rather than reactive, right? It doesn't mean we don't have to be like, oh, the data is telling me something, I need to respond to that. Or, oh, wow, I'm like really noticing this trend in our industry. Like, for example, the Jesse Jean thing. You could be like, oh, I'm really noticing this trend where people like challenge in this way. Okay, amazing. What would it look like for us to be responsive to that trend? Does it mean we need to go with it? Does it mean we actually need to push this one product we already have in our suite a little bit more? Does it mean like, right? You can still pay attention to these things without having to be in this massive reactivity mode or without massively changing your goals just because you see someone else doing something different, you know? Um, I think that's really big. And again, it's like not just about the success of it, although yes, it's about like are you the mentally healthy version of yourself in that? Um, so another one that I think is really, really big is most of the people I see thriving right now really do realize that audience matters a ton. And I don't mean just a big audience, right? I mean the audience that is engaged with you, that is a fan of yours, that believes in your work, that understands what you do, that connects with you as a human. Like having an audience like that and making that a priority is so important. I feel like a lot of the businesses that built for pure scale or pure volume and like kind of ignored that like connection or relationship with their audience are really, really, really struggling right now because most people are buying off that relationship, right? They're buying off of connection to the person, right? And so if you haven't built that, now is the time to do it, or it's the time to like focus there and capitalize on it. And again, I'm not trying to say like it means you have to have the most engagement or the biggest audience or any of those things, but I'm just trying to say like you have to see audience as a priority in your business, like, and the relationship you have with them as a priority. Um, because that is truly like what will lead to the sales, right? Like so many people are buying because of that connection, because of that relationship. And if it, you can almost get too businessy about it, I guess is maybe the best way I could say that, where it's like, I love numbers, I love data. You guys know this. I think they're so helpful. And there's almost this like sort of like non-quantifiable feel to that. Like, of course, we can look at the quantities of like engagement or like story views or whatever, right? Ads metrics. Like, we can like kind of look at these metrics around it. But like, there's this intangibility to like, I truly have an audience that is connected with me, right? For some people, they may have an audience that's like very connected with them, but actually is not super engaged in a comments way. They might be way more engaged in DMs, or maybe it's the opposite or whatever, right? Like I have one client who rarely gets DMs, but has a very engaged audience in terms of how they interact with her in comments, etc. I have another client who has the exact opposite situation. So it's not always about like one metric or anything. It's about like this sort of hard to quantify thing of like these people just get me. Like we just have a vibe. Like they just know I'm their person that they want to buy from. They just feel connected to me in a way that they don't to the 500 other people, in this space doing something similar to what I do. And I know that can be kind of frustrating because it feels so intangible, but it really is something I see when like people making an effort at makes such a difference. I did a story on this the other day, but I was saying that when I was going through applications, that was like one of the things I look for is how easy is it for me to like see and feel this person? So like if I go to their website, if I go to their socials, like how easy it is for me to like get a gist of them, connect with them, be like, oh, I kind of get their personality, I kind of get their vibe, or like, oh, all these things they said in the application make sense once I saw them on video, or once I like, was able to interact with them in this way. And it really does like make such a difference for how I feel going through the applications, because I either just feel like, oh, it all kind of like congeals and I just like get this person, or it's like, oh, like I wish I could like feel them a little bit more. I wish I could get like an energy check. I wish I could understand like all of these pieces and see them kind of all come together. And I think our audience wants that too. So I feel like a lot of people that are thriving aren't just like chasing a metric, but they're really chasing that quality of like my audience is connected to me. Um, this idea has been around like forever and ever. It was around when I started my business a decade ago, but it was the idea of like 1,000 raving fans, right? And the gist is like if you have 1,000 raving fans, you can have a successful business for years. Like that's all you need is 1,000 raving fans. And I think we're very much back to like that being something we should be thinking about and considering is like, how do we have 1,000 people that just get us, connect with us in that way? It doesn't even have to be 1,000, but you get my point. Um, if we focus on that, it's so much easier to grow. If we just kind of like narrow in too much on any one thing, it can be really hard. But if we're like, I just prioritize my relationship with my audience, that's really going to help in almost everything else that you're doing. And it's going to also help make it feel like everything you're doing is worth it. When people are like, I don't even know if social is worth it or whatever, it's like, if you feel that connection, it does tend to feel worth it. Um, okay, this one's very related to that, which is they're becoming more specific to their person. Okay, so what I mean by that is I think a lot of times we say stuff like you need to niche down, go more specific, not so broad, niche, niche, niche. And a lot of people get really worked up in that because they can feel very limited by that. They can feel like, yeah, but I want to solve all of these problems. And I personally feel like that too sometimes where I'm like, okay, but I want to talk to you about ads and your funnel and your data and your mindset and your life and how much time you're working and what that looks like. There are a lot of holistic pieces that I think go together. But what I think it really makes sense to get specific around in this stage of the online space where we don't want to be preached at. We don't want like value content coming out of our ears. We don't want to just learn something, is to be way more specific about who you're targeting than just what you help them with, right? Meaning, do you know your person well? Like, do you have like this kind of like archetype of them? Are you like, oh, they're like mine is always like they're very high achieving. They're very in integrity. They really care about like how they show up. They care about the people that they serve. They really care about like doing well and getting it right and like getting good results. They're very much like eldest daughter archetype. Like there are a lot of pieces of my person that are like very clear and detailed and specific in that. And I have business owners at all different levels. In those 84 applications, there was a huge range in terms of where someone was starting, what their goals were, what they wanted to do, how much they wanted to work, how much they wanted to make. But that person was very, very similar across the board in terms of like their values, their traits, like different pieces like that. And so I think this is really a time in the online space where getting specific on the who more than the what, i.e., like what we're solving or what problem we're fixing, it actually matters so much because it goes back to that like your audience feels connected with you. Like they feel seen, they feel gotten, they feel like their problem you're able to really specifically speak to, which does not always involve just being like, your problem is that you wish you could work less and make more, right? It's like your problem as an eldest daughter high achiever is that when you think about working less, it fucking breaks your brain because it's like the one thing you've always prided yourself in is being the person that was willing to outwork everyone else, is being the person that was always willing to show up. And so now when you try to work less, it feels like this thing that your body and brain just can't compete. Like, do you see how that's so different? Right? And so I think that leaning into that can be hard because sometimes it feels limiting for people. They're like, yeah, but I have a client who's not that way and blah, blah. Like, that's okay. Right? We're not pushing those clients away. We're not saying like, I can't work with you. We're just saying like, there is a person that I'm talking to in my content. And when I talk to them in a really specific way, it builds that relationship with my audience in a way that almost nothing else can, in a way that even just having a problem that I solve can't. And don't get me wrong, like your business is based on solving problems. That's what we do here. Business is based to help someone solve, or business is created to help someone solve a problem. Like, I'm not saying there's no problem. I'm just saying, like, when we lean into the specifics about who we're solving that for, I think that works much better online right now than just the details of the problem. Does that make sense? Um, Again, I think there is a level of like intangibility to that, but I also think it's why a lot of people are thriving because they just are so clear on their archetype. They're so clear on how that problem affects their person in a very specific, detailed way. And I feel like that's really what's selling right now is that connection and that specificity and that specificity. And again, it doesn't have to be on just the problem because like you can be obvious. Like I solve the problem of helping women make more money. Like it's so fucking generic, but like who I do it for and how I do it are very, very, very specific, you know? And I think that that's why we're able to get so many applications is because someone like really knows I'm for them, right? They're like, oh, she gets me. They're not saying like she's the best person I could possibly ever hire to make money in my business. Like that's just objectively not true. I'm sure there are plenty of people who have made loads more money than me that you could hire. But what they're saying is she is the best person for me. So different, you know? Um, okay. Uh, the next one is a little cheesy, but I think it is such an important one and so true, which is like they kind of see it all as magical. I feel like in this online space, you can get really, really, really jaded or really like lean hard into the magic. Do you know what I mean? Like, and trust me, I've like swung between the two throughout my days here. So this is not a judgment. Let's see what Janae said. She said, I work with women who have been betrayed. And just this morning, I had a message from someone saying, why do you always refer to women in your posts? And I'm like, because that's my ideal client. Exactly. Right. Like, I think that's so it. It's like because that is literally who I want to serve. That's who I'm talking to. That is a different experience than perhaps what a man experiences when he's betrayed. And like you want to be able to talk to that and you want to be able to help them see that you get that in a way that like someone who's trying to be generic about that, even if you solved the same problem, just wouldn't be able to. So anyway, perfect example. Thank you. Um, but yeah, so I've like had both in my time here where I'm just like, this space is such crap. Like everybody's full of shit. What are we doing here? Blah, 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 blah. Right? That's just never served me, to be honest. It's never helped me be a better coach. It's never helped me thrive. It's, maybe it's helped me create some good content here and there, I guess. And like, listen, I can still have a critical eye on the industry and still see what we're doing here as magical, meaning the fact that like I get to do work that I would basically want to do, for free if I could. Like I think about that all the time. I'm like, oh, if I just like won the lottery tomorrow, like I would still want clients. Like I would still want to be doing this. Um, and from my own home with flexible hours, being able to be a really present mom, making great ass money doing it, having women in my world that I just like love and respect so deeply, getting to like fulfill this mission that I feel called to do about like helping women have more money and more access and more choice. And so I say all that because it is like the hack to thriving in many ways is to be like, this is all fucking magical. This is all so cool. I cannot believe we are basically like the first generation of women who have been able to build businesses and make money in this way. And yes, there are problems with our industry. And yes, we can um like be open about them and we don't have to like sweep them under the rug and hide them for it to be magical, but you kind of have to be able to hold the nuance of it. You kind of have to be like a little bit in awe of how cool and badass it is that we get to like post what we think and say shit. Like think about it like, like our grandmothers couldn't even, maybe even mothers couldn't even own a house on their own, couldn't even get a credit card. Now I'm like sitting here talking about like making millions and millions of dollars from like my home, while getting to be a present mom and all of those things. So I know this is kind of cheesy, but I really do believe like if you want to thrive in the online space right now, you have to kind of take that magical lens. This is so cool. This is so magical. This is so special. This is such an interesting opportunity that no generation before us has been afforded because if not, it's really easy to get jaded really quickly, just like with any industry. But when you do that, like you're kind of limiting what you believe is possible, right? Like when you're like, oh, most of the industry is bullshit, you're kind of like telling yourself a story that, like, so you can't really trust it that much. You can't really believe in it. You can't really lean into the work. It's not really that special what you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. When you're like, listen, some of the industry is bullshit, and there's always going to be that in any industry. But what I see here is women like being, let me say this different. What I see is women building opportunities they've never had before. Like we have to see that as cool as fuck. We have to kind of be like starry-eyed about it. In order to, I think, have the delusion to like do the next thing and keep showing up. And like it's so easy to get really like meh about it. But like anytime I've had a client kind of get into that space where they get kind of mad, and then I'm like, okay, but like, what if we saw this as magical again? What if da da da? Or like, okay, fine, if you're mad about it, what would you do instead? They're always like, oh God, nothing. Right? Like, there's nothing else I want to do instead of this. Oh, yeah, I do remember how magical this used to feel. Like, I think that we can get a little too used to it. Like, I know I've been doing this for a decade, so it's kind of easy for it to feel normal to me. And I work so hard every day to be like, nothing about this is like normal. I mean, I hope it continues to be for more women as time goes on, but like nothing about getting to like live like this and parent like this and build wealth like this and make impact like this is normal. And I just think it's like so important to see it like that. And I think that helps with the thriving so much because one, like it just feels so fucking good to like live in that headspace every day. But two, I think living in that headspace naturally fosters so many more ideas, so much more creativity, so much more belief, so much more trust. That simply kind of being on this like meh, place doesn't give us. Um, okay, let us see what else we have. Yes, Lacey said that. I get to that place all the time. There's nothing else I would really want to do. Yeah, I think it's just so helpful to come back to that, right? Just be like, oh yeah, like this is it. This is the thing. This is the desire. Like, how do I make that right and cool and amazing and all of the things that just like make such a difference? Oh, thank you, Lindsay. Okay. Oh, I'm like just looking at my little list here. Okay, so obviously like this is a very biased next point, but I do think it is relevant here. I feel like so many of the women that are thriving really are just like investing in depth over volume. And of course, I mean that in terms of coaching, but I really do also mean that in terms of anything else. I mean that in terms of their learning or their team or their self-care or whatever. Like I really do think like women are craving more depth and feeling more seen, more held, and that spans everything. Like, right. So I feel like there's like this trend. There used to be like you would want almost like a lot of team members each doing very specific things. And now I feel like a lot of people are moving to like, I want one or two team members that I go really, really deep with and that understand almost all of my business. Or um, in terms of coaching, it's not like, oh, I just want to learn 10 different things or I want to take all of these courses and I want, right? Because again, it's like that is back to that like chasing and reactivity. I think most of the people who are thriving are like, I'm working on one thing with one person, or, I have two really big things and I have two people in my corner for that. And they're like really going deeper with those experiences. Thank you, Cher. Such a good reminder. Just noticing that right behind you. Thank you. We're getting there. I need to have my person kind of like style this stuff. I don't know what we're doing there, but I'm very happy with this. I think it looks really cool. There's like more that goes up. So I like that there's like layers to it. Thank you for saying that. Uh, yeah, so I feel like depth with team, with mentors, with even what you're learning. I think like instead of trying to go be like, I want to become an expert on all things AI, like go deeper with that. Like how we had Sam on last week talking just about like getting recognized in AI search. Like all of that is a big job in and of itself. Like I'm not saying it's hard to do, but I'm just saying like I think that depth of like, okay, I'm just going to learn how to show up in search instead of like I'm going to become an AI expert is such a different thing. And I just feel like when you go deep with stuff like that, whether it's like what you're learning or the mentor or the team, it is so much more rewarding and you can so much more easily see the fruits of that labor, i.e., oh, I really am showing up in search, or like, oh, I really do feel very supported by team, or, I feel so seen and so held by my mentor. Like those things really do make a big difference than like, well, I'm enrolled in 5 programs and I'm trying to become an AI expert in one, but I'm also trying to learn Facebook ads in another, but I'm also trying to be a better storyteller in one. And then I'm also getting some coaching here on scalability and it is just a recipe for insanity. And it kind of goes back to everything I was saying before, but there really is a through line here. Um, of like know your thing, go deep on your thing, get a depth of support on that thing, go deep with your person, go deep with your focus, like that is when you will see it pay off. Like I think really to be transparent, gone are the days where you can really half-ass a lot of things in the online space and get really good results. Like most people in the online space are full force into the thing that they're doing well at. Like again, we'll use the Jessie Jean thing, right? Like she really went all in there. Like she didn't throw out 10 other offers because she saw her audience growing or, capitalize on a million other things. She was like, I'm going to be really good at yapping. I'm going to get really good at it. And then I'm going to sell something about being really good at yapping. And like, I'm not sure that she did it with that much intentionality or not, right? But like that is what happened. And it's like that compounds really quickly. So in anything, I would say like invest in depth over volume. I just think this like there used to be a time, like, trust me, there is a time in the online space where it was almost like if you could just get yourself to show up, like you could kind of half-ass your content, like I probably repurposed content for years and it just didn't matter. Like I still easily booked clients through it. I like probably spent a couple years where barely created a single new piece of content and I just like didn't have to. But like I do believe that has shifted quite a bit. And so it's not just like, okay, that means we all just have to do so much more. It's like we have to do a couple of things and we have to do them really well. Right. And I think that's true of like the support you're getting too. Like it's not necessarily helpful at this current stage to have all of this kind of like learning support. I think it's so much more helpful to have like in-depth support that's like personalized and specific to you. Again, biased, but I do think that like a lot of people that are thriving have that. They're not just like, well, I'm just doing what someone else did. They're going, okay, I'm like figuring out how to do this. Like I've had so many clients this year that I've had just like really big things to navigate. Like, one of my clients is launching a third business and she's pregnant and she's had all of this change and like all of this kind of like upheaval and the different things she's doing. Like the reason she's still able to like thrive and make great money through all of that is because she like really has a place to go deep on all of that and to tell me every like nook and cranny of that and in and out from that and to have an outside perspective and to like have someone looking at that bigger picture for her as it relates to everything that's on her plate and all that she's holding versus like a random mentor in one program on one specific thing that's like, no, you just need to do more of this. And she's like, well, I'm pregnant and I have two other businesses and right, so I really believe we're in a depth over volume season because I think that's what the online space is asking us for, right? It's like, again, everything has to do with some layer of depth on like your person, your focal points, all of that. Um, uh, okay, the last one. And then I have some other thoughts we'll share, but the last big one that I want to share is they're really like willing to make some decisions that feel boring. Okay. Um, but that ultimately like compound over time. I think that for so many people, the online space provides this sort of like endless ability to feel like you're kind of playing the lottery, if that makes sense. Like, and I think it gets reinforced because we do see things like the Jessie Jean thing where it almost is like she just won the lottery, right? And so I think it reinforces this idea that every new idea is kind of like playing the lottery, like, ooh, are we going to hit jackpot this time? But like ironically, a lot of those are kind of the antithesis to a lot of the decisions we need to make to build a business where we feel successful, but also like thriving as humans. Because like playing the lottery all the time really wears on your system. Playing the lottery all the time is not necessarily great for your mental health as it relates to business because it's not like you're just going and buying a lottery ticket. Like you're doing all of the work to build the lottery ticket. You know what I mean? Whatever that might be, like the next offer, the next challenge, the next thing. And that can grind on your system so hard. And so it's not to say like we never want to have fun with that or we never want to like roll the dice on like what we feel like might be the next big thing, but equally like we have to have enough stability and sustainability and sort of like boring pieces of our business that we have the risk tolerance and the runway to do that. And so I feel like a lot of people that are thriving have just decided to make some boring decisions, i.e., like, hey, I just want this one program to be my focus, and I'm just going to fill it over and over and over again and build enough demand for it that then I can do whatever else I want. Or um, actually, I have this really good idea and it's going to wait till 2027 because that's, what is going to take to build it and build it well and not completely kill myself in the process. Or um, I could make X, but I'm actually going to make Y because I'm actually going to have more profit with Y and I'm going to have less intensity. Like there are just some boring decisions that we sometimes need to make in order to actually be able to thrive. Another example of that might be like if you have like a big audience and you're getting asked for a bunch of different offers, like it is a boring decision to not just like give your audience what they're asking for. And it's a really good decision most of the time. Like that will compound. And I think this is why like a lot of people struggle to build demand and things like that in their business because they're not willing to make that boring decision. They're like always like after the next hit or the next thing or the next lottery ticket. And it's just more boring to be like, yeah, I know they want that. And it would probably go decently well, but realistically, 2027 is when I'm on track for X. Like that is just like a basic you know, kind of boring decision as opposed to like, oh my God, what if I launch this next week? And then what if 25 people said yes? And then what if the next month 50 people said yes? And da, 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 like, I'm not saying we don't dream big, like we absolutely do. And sometimes when we do that, we put ourselves into such a reactive state that actually we're not really manifesting, we're not really attracting, we're in full blown anxiety mode. And so I think a lot of the people who are thriving have just decided, like, hey, I'm going to make what is sometimes the harder call or the less exciting call in favor of building like enough demand and momentum to make my life easy, to make this worth it, to make business feel like there is a strong runway. And when you have that, then it's so much easier to do other things or take risks, or it's so much easier to decide you don't have to, right? Like for me, I feel like I could probably take a lot of risks in my business right now. And like, that's just not something that I'm like feeling super called to do because like I don't need a lottery ticket. I kind of feel like I've already won the lottery. Does that make sense? Like like I'm kind of at this place where I'm like, oh, I could go be like, oh, what would my audience do with a $297 offer from me? I haven't done that. Like, let's see. And I kind of feel like I've already won the lottery in terms of like what I built and what I get to do. And so I don't feel like I need that. But it's kind of boring. Like there, Um, but the work itself isn't boring, right? Like the lottery ticket feeling isn't there, but the work itself is engaging and fun and all of that. And so that's kind of what I would like really suggest is like the most like fun thing of your business should be like, what is the work you like to do and how do we build the business around that? It shouldn't be like, what if I tried these next 20 things and then that was what was popping? Like to do that long term is like pretty grinding. And it's usually where people feel like they just can't get anything right. And that's typically not true. So ultimately, my point here is the women that are thriving are like, yes, making decisions about success, but they're also making decisions about like what makes them feel good, what keeps them in a good place, what makes this sustainable for them, what makes them want to show up for the work each day. Like, if you keep making decisions that are opposite to that, expecting to thrive, it's kind of crazy work, right? Um, which sounds obvious, but it's just not how we always think about it. But if like I kept selling a group program or something when I know like that's not what I enjoy the most, but I wanted to feel like I was thriving and selling that, like what I'd be hitting a wall every fucking time, right? Instead, when you're like, oh, this is what I really feel good about, this is how I really thrive. And then my job is to just keep increasing that, to then look at the data, to get into the numbers, to make the strategic choices. Like it compounds so, so quickly from there. So I really think like a lot of thriving is back to basics. Like again, some of this is maybe like nuanced in terms of like, your person matters a little bit more than your problem right now, or like your audience and that connection matters in a way that I don't think it always has. Like there are definitely some pieces that are sort of like, new, like relevant, I guess, to like the state of the current online industry. But a lot of these are like pretty tried and true. Like it's well proven that you're going to get more results from focusing on a couple things instead of everything. Like it's, well proven that reactivity is not useful. It's well proven that like a lot of great business owners cite their biggest strength is being able to say no to things so they can say yes to a couple things. Like, the mindset piece of seeing it as magical. It's well proven that like when you have that mindset, it's so much easier to show up. So a lot of this is just kind of about remembering that those things are the lottery ticket, right? Like they're probably the things that are going to compound the most and have the biggest impact. And if you can like really turn your attention there and kind of put those blinders on so you're not so inundated with the rest, it will be so much easier to feel like you're in a good season, to feel like you can really see the effort that you're putting in pay off instead of kind of always being in this kind of like, hopefully it'll pay off when this next thing is ready, built, launched, whatever. Because that is a stressful place to be in for a significant period of time. So I hope this helps. I hope this is a reminder to just like kind of take it back to basics, kind of keep it simple, make the choices that truly feel best to you because most of us don't just want to make or have one year where we like make a lot of money and then burn out. Like most of us want to be like, okay, what does it look like to make a lot of money year over year over year? And to me, like most of these are kind of how we do that, right? We let it compound. We're willing to make some boring decisions. We're willing to go deep. We're willing to get focused on what we actually want. Like, it's kind of that simple sometimes. Allison said, I love the back to basics. It makes things so clear. Yeah. I'm always reminded of that in business. Like I remind my clients this all the time. I'm like, you already know. Like you already know what has worked. You already know what it takes. You already probably know where you need to focus. Like what's so hard is getting rid of all of the noise around us that tells us otherwise. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you for listening. And I will talk to you next week. And what I feel like I had one next week that I wanted to tell you was coming, but I can't remember why. Hold on, let me look. Oh, yeah, it's fine. I moved some stuff around, but next week I really want to talk about this observation that I've really seen in myself and in others that I've noticed in business that like makes such a difference when you actually like take this lens. So next week is going to be a really good one. It's gonna the title is going to sound a little cheesy and maybe like, okay, yeah, I get the point, but I promise it's a really, really good one. So that was what I was going to warn you about. If you're like, oh yeah, I get it, give me a chance anyway. So I promise it's going to be good. Okay. Hey, thank you, Janae. All right. I hope you guys have a beautiful week. I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.